So welcome everyone. I'm so happy that you could be here, folks that are here live and folks that will be listening to the recording. This is a really important topic for these days, and I've been thinking a lot about reinvention in general, because I've spent a lot of time in my own reinventions, multiple reinventions, with which some of you know, and also looking at the specific external influence here of the pandemic, and looking at what's driving change right now. This is mostly external change, and there's some internal change as well, with people making different decisions about where they want to spend their time and energy. So we're going to be exploring this today. I'm excited to share some thoughts. I've done a little bit of research and looked at some studies from consulting firms and some business schools to get their viewpoint on things, and certainly my own experience with clients and from companies themselves. So we're going to jump in. I'm going to do a little screen share here because I have some bullet points that I want to share with you. So we'll walk through that as we go forward. So let me get that up here. And welcome to the new folks who have joined us. Go ahead and get this started here. Okay. Can you guys all see my screen? Thumbs up, you can see it? Okay, right on. So welcome, as I said, this is a really timely topic. I'm so happy that you could join us today. We're going to be talking about reinventing in uncertain times and look at 5 trends and success strategies. The format for this conversation today is I want to present this information to you, and so you can hear the full breadth of the content. Jot down your questions or type them in the chat. That is open. I will take questions at the end just to preserve the integrity of the presentation, because there may be some things that you're thinking that would get addressed a little farther down in the presentation. So we'll do that. I'll share these thoughts with you, and then we will open the line for a full discussion, question, answer. You can add insights, whatever you want. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your questions. So for those of you guys who don't know me, welcome and thanks for coming. I'm Sherry Goodwin. I'm a business strategist and leadership coach, a speaker and an author, and a passionate, diehard horsewoman, sometimes to my own demise. And I've reinvented myself a number of times and helped businesses reinvent, individuals reinvent. And it's really a passion of mine to help people figure out how to live by their own design and share their unique talents and strengths within an organization or within their own organization, or however they see fit in the world. So that's kind of my calling. So let's see here. As I always say, you can always reinvent. These are some of the numerous business cards that I've had over the years. I worked in environmental engineering and science for 20 years and led some teams there on water quality regulations. There's a photo of me at a power plant. We had that's a cooling tower actually. So we looked at both nuclear and steam electric power plants and the impacts from their water requirements on fish and aquatic life. I was also a management consultant, and I ran an IT consulting and staffing firm, recruiting firm, did executive level search, and wrote a couple of books more recently. Was written up in the paper a couple of times. There's me with little short hair. Here I'm long and shaggy. So lots of reinvention over the years. And I do know that at any point you can reinvent. Doesn't matter where you are in your life or what you've done. You do have the power to reinvent. And we're going to look at this. So here's some good news. As a former scientist, I always research, and I thought, well, what's the resiliency of humans anyway? How long have we really been around? And I found this actually fairly new research in 2018 saying that they found some little Homo habilis back in China now. There's evidence of stone tools about 2.8 million years ago. So there is precedent for our survival. And I find this very encouraging. And the driving question these days in this pandemic environment, what I'm finding is that it's more around, how can I best share my unique combination of skills, talents, and passions with the world? And if you work for an organization, the top organizations really are looking at how can we best serve the world? And we've seen a lot of that happen here with the pandemic, and there's been a lot of really interesting collaborations and innovations during this time, which we'll touch on today. And then there's a personal reinvention here. This is my little cat Ranger. Reinvention and pivoting is not just for humans, it's also for other beings. And this was a little stray, actually feral cat, wild in the bushes, skinny. And she adopted us, and now she's transformed herself into this mouser extraordinaire, and she's quite lovely. So infinite possibilities for your own experience. So that's what we're going to talk about today. This is a brief outline. We will be looking at 5 new business trends. We'll share that in a minute. Some examples, a bunch of examples of those, so you can really start to see how some of these organizations are implementing the results of the pandemic. And looking at what's required of leadership during these kinds of changing times, dynamic times, and really any time. It's just time for leadership to get even better and more intentional and more visionary and much, much more communicative and empowering for their people. So we'll look at that. And then I'll share with you 5 success strategies, and then we'll have a discussion. As I mentioned, we'll open the line, I'll look at your chat, we can have conversations. And for folks who may want to go deeper into this reinvention space, I will give you some ideas about some support about potentially working with me if you're inclined. So let's go ahead and jump in. Now, first, we have to go back to Plato here, because I was looking at this quote, necessity is the mother of invention. I was thinking, you hear that all the time, and especially now in these changing times. And I thought, well, where's the original of that, or origination of it? And it really comes from Plato's The Republic. And he's an ancient Greek philosopher, and The Republic was published in 380 BC. So again, along the lines of precedent and innovation, humans, we've been at this for a while. So I find this to be very inspiring and positive, and a new evolution for all of us. In fact, I was thinking about, some of those old hominids way in the back, pounding away with their stone tools. And, so now we're pounding away on the computer. And honestly, maybe a stone tool is sometimes more reliable. So it depends on all kinds of things. But we've been moving along this direction for a long time. So we're being really asked for the next level of evolution. So let's go ahead and jump in here. These I found to be very interesting. This is from Wharton Business School. They say that the pandemic has catalyzed 5 trends. And some of these seem fairly self-evident. Certainly the work from home, it's all around public health and safety. So we now have these, most of you guys, if not all of you guys, are working from home. I'm working from home. So that requires a specific type of setup. Some folks are in the office, and there's certain adjustments we've had to make for that as well. And then there's the technology driver. So, how can technology assist? Who's in charge of that? What are your options? What are the latest innovations? Technology has been one of the biggest drivers in innovation over time, but certainly now. Even the Zoom call that we're on right now. Social distancing provides another trend. We didn't have this before. So how are you productive and profitable as a business with the social distancing requirement? And there's a shorter supply chain. So we're looking more at local connections to try to optimize the distribution and make sure that we have product available for folks. If you're getting your toilet paper from China, it may or may not come. And then there's speed to market. Right now, what they're showing is it's really important if you are in business to be able to just get your work out there, get your offering out there, change it up, change on the fly. And we're going to be looking at how all of these different 5 trends have really driven businesses to innovate and also be very successful in many cases. Okay, so here are some examples. I want to just jump in and share some of these. I don't know if you guys know about Framebridge in Washington, D.C., fairly local company. In fact, I think I met the CEO at a women's business event a few years ago, pretty sure. They're a custom picture framing firm, and they do really great work. They were in a big expansion mode, and when the COVID pandemic started, they just were at a standstill. They weren't sure what to do. And then they saw a video of someone using a 3D printer to make a mask and thought, hey, wait a minute, we have equipment, we have the capability, we can make masks. So they started making these masks, And pretty soon they ended up with a contract with the state of Kentucky, and they produced 30,000 masks, and I'm sure they're even doing more now. They sold these masks at cost, and they really were mostly interested in providing this kind of civic responsibility or social responsibility because it was keeping workers employed. They didn't have to lay folks off, and it was the right thing to do, in their words. Another example across the pond is in Ireland from a event stage and prop company called Flying Elephant Productions, which, what a cool name. So they had, they build stuff. They have all the wood and the equipment and things. And one of their friends needed a desk because he was working from home. He says, oh yeah, no problem, we can build you a desk. Not really thinking until they started building the desk. And within a month, they had 2,000 sold because people really loved this. So this is the resiliency of the human spirit. It's like, hey, wow, we can make a pivot here, jump in and really help. And this other example I find very interesting. This is an annual meeting. So it's for American Society of Neuroradiology. So 2,000 people who were supposed to go to this event. And it was a live event over, I think, at least 3 days in June, I think. They were able to pivot. And as you may know, many events have been canceled. Some are on Zoom. Certainly these big live events with huge sponsors and booths and all of that, really complicated to keep live. But they were able to pivot to an all virtual event. They changed how they did their sponsor packages. They provided some incentives. They helped speakers record their presentations in advance of the actual date so that then the speakers could come on and do live Q&A, and the participants could actually watch the talk anytime before that. So really smart use of time. And then they are fully invested in distance learning, which is where we all are if we're in that educational type of space and outreach. This is a little bit of a cluttered slide, but again, a whole bunch of examples here that showcase these trends in action, the ones that we just talked about. So Ford, Ford plant in Detroit started manufacturing ventilators. Lots of textile manufacturers, clothing designers started putting together fancy masks, not just a mask to cover your face. Now there are these beautiful masks. I'm still using the old little, blue and white little things you get at the grocery store. But there's some pretty beautiful masks out there now. Consistent with the company's brand, it gives them a little artistic flair, and pretty exciting there. And then Uber did a little pivot. They, since people weren't really going anywhere, they decided to go ahead and transport prescriptions, deliver prescriptions and groceries. Lots of great service there. Certainly the restaurants, we've been hearing about those guys. I mean, what a Herculean effort they've been making over time here to try to keep the doors open as best as possible with the curbside pickup and all of the streamlined menus, which means their website and everything else has to be up to date. That's a lot of work. And catering and all kinds of different things that they're doing there. The other piece is that many of these restaurants have been providing food for the hungry. So, and also for healthcare workers. You've seen a lot of that, which is just beautiful. I have a friend who works in real estate. She's an incredible realtor in the DC area for Keller Williams, and many real estate agents now have completely implemented these virtual home tours, and people, it's a great time to buy since the interest rates are so low if you can. And many folks are buying without even physically going to the property or even having a representative at the physical location. They're buying off of the software that's now available. And in one case, my friend is actually, she's hired folks for her team. So she's actually been growing during this time. My own sister is, she has a great business where she teaches kids how to sew, and she does it after school, and the kids all stay and they sew, and it's very, very hands-on. And here's the pandemic. Oh my gosh, what do you do? So she and her partner started making these little kits, and initially driving them all over, this is out in San Francisco Bay Area, driving them all over the Bay Area with their masks on. They put them on the door, and it's just like a special little service that they did, and eventually have to move to shipping because you need to leverage the impact, because if you're driving around all the time, it's not always a great use of time. but wonderful to be able to continue and innovate during the pandemic and think of different ways to do your work. I know you probably have heard about these breweries and distilleries that have converted to making hand sanitizer. So awesome. Well, so did beauty firm Jafra, who came out with their own line. Jafra is known for really high-end, beautiful lotions and all kinds of products. So they made a hand sanitizer, also hand lotion, that is absolutely consistent with their brand and top of the line and just flew off the shelves. Of course, the classes, exercise, all of this stuff's online. And then telemedicine, the cardiovascular care went from zero, no one was really using telemedicine for cardiovascular care, to up 75% within the first 2 weeks, and then telehealth in general. So these are some pretty substantial examples of folks who have pivoted, who have reinvented, leveraged this time to showcase their product. And have done so. Some are actually doing better than ever. And for some of those guys, it's actually a temporary fix until just to get them through this time, get enough cash flow in there, provide a great community service, also create brand awareness, and that's all good stuff. So people are going to remember after the pandemic, wow, these people, this organization really helped out, really stepped up, they really care, and I'm going to buy from them. So there's a lot of strategic positioning going on here, all from the perspective of customer service and compassion and care. So beautiful things. So leadership needs. The best leaders during this pandemic, according to the McKinsey report, and one of the sources they cited is Harvard Business School's Linda Hill. It's pretty amazing. They said that the best leaders during this pandemic so far are acting on available data. So they're not waiting. A lot of times firms, organizations, even individuals can get into this analysis paralysis space where you need to research more before you make a decision and move forward with something. The best leaders now are actually saying, all right, what's the data? What can we do with this data? I'm going to learn on the fly and make course corrections along as we go. And in order to do that, you have to have a very strong team. You have to be able to flatten the hierarchy so folks can make decisions at the respective levels so that you don't get this whole pipeline of backup where the senior leadership team has to address everything. So empowering and flattening this hierarchy and empowering teams. Some companies are actually putting together teams, focus point teams, where they go inside the organization and say, hey, we have this issue. How about you guys assemble something, come up with a solution, try to figure something out, present it back to us. So really a great time. That also inspires engagement, innovation, longevity, all kinds of great things come out of that. And trust, of course. Trust is the cornerstone. I work on trust all the time for myself, for my animals, for my clients, for organizations, because without trust, you can't do all of this stuff because people are questioning everything, including the data. So these are the 5 leadership needs. It's interesting that I have 5 everywhere. There must be some significance to 5 today. We have 5 success strategies, 5 leadership needs, and 5 pandemic trends. So look that up later. So here are the success strategies. We'll talk about this now. So the first one, as I mentioned, is super important to me, is to deepen trust and relationships. And this is it's always a success strategy. Pandemic, no pandemic, doesn't matter. The more that you can do to deepen trust, the better off you're going to be. The more you can spend time with relationship building, the better off you're going to be. No matter if you are an individual reinventing or if you are an organization that's pivoting or reinventing. Key number 1. So one of the things that we talk about here is being seen as a safe place. And I first learned this from working with horses, because horses have a very close fight, flight, freeze response. And if they don't trust you, they're not really inclined to do what you want. And certainly not if you're, if they have choice, meaning they're in an environment where you're not riding them and they can choose to be with you or not. So they look at things as, are you a threat? Are you someone I can trust? Are you safe? Do you even matter? And so it's important for all of you to be seen, and all of us to be seen as a safe place, to know what your people need. First, know what you need for yourself. You need to be a safe place for yourself. Some of us are threats to ourselves at some times. We're not really doing what's in our best interests. So you want to be a safe place for yourself. You want to be a safe place for others. You want to look at your team, clients, prospects, especially now during a pandemic, because there's such a high fear trigger. We're being triggered by uncertainty economically, health, there's social upheaval, there's political potential upheaval, there's all kinds of things happening that can make you feel unsafe, and they're all external factors. So we can't control all of that. The only thing you can really do is work on yourself and how you're showing up. So building your own confidence, if you are a trusting person, you're going to be more trusted. If you are a confident person, people are going to have more confidence in you. So take steps to do that. Being a value add or a trusted resource. And this is around being very mindful of what your best strengths are. What are your values? What are your strengths? What drives you? What motivates you? And when you align those in service to other, you can be very, very impactful. And this is what I'm working on with all of my clients and myself, pretty much my entire career now. And when you get that into that sweet spot, everything is easier. You get more opportunities, you're happier, you're able to contribute more, and it's pretty amazing. So this requires you to be very proactive and not just sit and wait to be told what to do or to react to an environment. You react, but you can also be proactive. You want to try to get ahead, because this is all about leadership. It's all about leading with your best strengths, your talents, your passions, your concern for other, your care. That comes across. So anticipating the needs of your team, of clients, of prospects, then you become that go-to resource. And that's a really great place to be. And people will call you from all kinds of corners of the globe for different things once they start seeing you in that space. And the other great thing about that too is you can get job offers. So say you're maybe not so happy in the current situation. If you start doing these kinds of things and being a safe place for others and deepening trust and working in alignment with your strengths, others will notice. And new opportunities start to arise, both within an organization, outside of an organization. It's wonderful. I see it happen all the time. So as you're deepening trust in these relationships, it's critically important to communicate. You want to communicate as much as you need to, regularly. And if you don't know what that is, then set up a regular schedule so that at least you have something once a week, twice a week, multiple times a week. During a pandemic, it's important to communicate with your team, certainly, as much as possible. The other thing is to have this type of triage focus. I call it triage focus because it's almost single-minded focus on your shorter, near-term goals, being mindful of the longer-term goal. But right now, we don't know too much about what's happening in the future, so all we can do is do the best we can in the moment, plan for the future. I'm not saying don't plan, but put the focus on the right now and the near-term goal. So that way you don't get distracted and you're taking action and you're able to complete things. You're able to get things out. You're able to assess whether or not things are working in a very quick way. I've also done a ton of strategic planning. Just did a couple just last month, strategic planning sessions. And we're looking at 3 years. And that's great. But we're also looking at right now, what can we do right now to set up for success in 3 years? And we need to be doing the same thing right now, being mindful of those 5 trends from the pandemic, using technology, social distancing, this remote workforce, because these things are going to go on probably a while. Speed to market, and also the making sure that you have a great team in place that's empowered. The other thing too is for both yourself and prospects, clients, easy small wins are the way to go right now. Little bite-sized things, because what I found is when you're living in an environment like we're in right now, which is both exciting, hopeful, and kind of terrifying, depending on what news you might be listening to that day. Really, truly, you can flip back and forth, and it can make you really exhausted and very uncertain and unable to move forward. So same is true for your team and your prospects and your clients. So give them something easy, easy small wins. So if you're doing any type of marketing, if you're in business, figure out what you can give them maybe for free or a low investment point, something like that. With team engagement, keep your meetings fun, reporting in on teeny tiny wins, whatever it is, acknowledge it, celebrate it. That's what we need to continue to move forward. Okay, so that was number one, all number one. Number two, use the technology. It kind of goes without saying, but you don't want to back off of the technology. Certainly Zoom, Microsoft Teams, the video software, live stream, online learning platforms, all kinds of things that are out there right now, all these different apps can be totally overwhelming. And in truth, I'm actually a late adopter, yeah. As far as technology is concerned, I kind of, it's all I can do to get my cell phone with the apps and all the other stuff. It makes me crazy. And I know it's a key to success. Key to success. You have to be able to be in communication. You have to be able to use the up-to-speed tools so that you can access people. You can provide offerings out there that are timely, that don't get bogged down because they're on old software or things that are outdated, don't work, buggy, whatever it is. So one of the things that I committed to, I think it was last year and definitely implemented this year, was getting more support with technology. So when I launched my online program earlier in April, there's a little photo from it, right in the middle of a pandemic. Why not release a new offering? What the heck? What could go wrong, right? I actually hired somebody to help with the production of that whole thing. So I didn't have to learn all of that. I'm going to hire that stuff out. That's not my best strength, but it was their best strength. So that was super helpful. And then taking a look at your offerings and saying, all right, what do you have that's live that might be able to be flipped to online? What do you have that's in maybe a workshop environment that could be flipped a different way? How can you do your work? One of the things that I've heard a few of my clients say in the beginning of the pandemic was, I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to do. And these are smart people, smart, educated people who have been very successful, but were just stopped because A, fear, and fear will stop you, and B, the how wasn't clear. How do I even do my work now? So they had to get around, or what do I do? And I said, well, in some cases, you're an educator, you're a learning specialist, whatever you might be. So what's available to you? How can we do this? Like, I don't even know how to talk to my team. Okay, got to get up to speed right now, quick, with Teams, with Zoom, with whatever. Don't get intimidated by the technology. Technology becomes your ally. It's a tool, just like those stones, way back, 2.8 million years ago or so. All right, so technology. And then the big thing here is be agile. Make fast decisions, as we talked about a little bit in the leadership piece. You want to increase the speed to market. So it needs to be days. These folks that pivoted to making masks or hand sanitizer or desks or anything like that, all those examples I shared earlier, they did that within a matter of days. Even the Ford plant with the ventilators, it didn't take much. They'd never made ventilators before. I mean, what the heck? They make cars. But they figured it out, and they were able to adapt and get things out there and get some revenue coming in. So again, this is about streamlining operations, simplifying your operations. So being agile to be able to get things out to market. How many steps does it take? How many are absolutely critical? How many could be maybe automated better or grouped together? How long does it take you to get something out? And this also applies if you're reinventing as an individual. We need to use the technology. You need to be agile. You can't be going around and around and around about, well, maybe I should, I'm not sure about my resume. It's kind of this. And maybe I'll look at Indeed.com for ratings on companies and Glassdoor and different, websites for job postings. And maybe I'll apply, maybe I won't. We don't have time for that right now. You need to be assertive. You need to be after it. Get after it. Because the most important thing is to be able to be seen and heard. This is the thing here in number 4. Be visible. Be visible. All of those examples of those companies before they're doing all of those great deeds, that's raising their visibility. They're doing great work, which is fantastic. And they're being seen. They're being seen. So there's nothing more important than that. So being seen, but you want to be seen where your strengths are. That's really important. You don't want to just be seen if you're, messing up something. That's not always so good. Although vulnerability is a good thing. But we really want to focus on strengths. So use your strengths to showcase your expertise. So if you happen to be really good at something as a crafts person, you can do demos. You can do demos online. This guy, I don't know if you know about this guy, Rob Kenny. Oh my gosh, he has this website. He started it in April. Let's see, he's 56 years old. Yeah, Rob Kenny. And he's 56. He started in April. He's a salesman just to help people kind of get some life skills, because his own dad left when he was young and he didn't have these life skills. He has 2.46 million subscribers, it says. This is today from YouTube. And what a wonderful place to leverage what you love. He loves to share. Who knows what this will lead to for him? All kinds of new opportunities, sponsors, advertising, maybe quit the day job, I don't know. But he's done a beautiful, beautiful job of that. So that's demos, certainly video talks for your organization, highlighting some of the things that you've done, articles to help people. Just put yourself out there, be seen, be visible, because this goes back to the trust piece too as well. You want to be a trusted resource for your people. And when you're a trusted resource, people will look to you for guidance. And when they're ready, they will buy from you. And when they're ready, they will hire you. And when you're ready, you can go out and talk to whoever you want, and just from a place of curiosity, maybe get hired. This is what happens. A lot of the work that I've done with clients, some of my senior level folks, they've actually had new positions during the pandemic, multiple six-figure jobs. So they're out there. This is not a time to shrink back. It's a time to get after what you want and go for it. And then finally, number 5 is this collaboration piece. So you see Dyson, the vacuum cleaner. I actually have a couple of Dyson vacuum cleaners. They're amazing. Dyson, the vacuum cleaner, and this tech firm TTP teamed up to make ventilators. There's all kinds of partnerships going on. There's community service projects going on to help the food banks. I know in Warrenton, there's Great Harvest Bread Company was just amazing with making bread for the local food bank. We have lots of incredible examples locally. In fact, I have a couple of them here. I didn't even put them on the slide. But just my own personal experience, the small animal vets, they pivoted so fast. I had to bring the little feral cat you saw. Well, she has a little sister, and who's a real feral little thing. And I had to trap them, put them in a car, and get them for their annual vaccines. It's a bit of a production because I never know where they are because they're wild. They live outside. But I got them in the car, and all I did was sit in my car. The folks came out of the vet, and they took both of the cats in their carriers. They took care of them inside. The vet called me from inside on the phone. I paid over the phone. They brought the cats back out, and that was it. Bing, bang, boom. And that vet practice is actually doing better than ever in the pandemic. Actually, doing quite well in the pandemic. They never had a slowdown. Healthcare workers certainly, wow. And executives of local hospitals, they've made this massive effort. A lot of them are even expanding now locally. So new cancer centers, new treatment places are opening. So this is great. They're all on track. Let's see, some of these other folks. Oh my gosh, my friend Michelle Coe from Blue Sky Phoenix, she was amazing. I don't know, Michelle, if you're on or not, but she just jumped up. She's got a great marketing firm. She started leading these Zoom trainings and helping people with technology, getting them all for free, and leading meetings for the Fauquier Chamber of Commerce just to get everybody together and get talking. And a lot of folks were part of that effort. She was spearheading that. Another one of my colleagues, Talk 19 Media, they are busier than heck with updating COVID policies and helping folks with the videos on their websites and doing all kinds of customized work. So they've been super busy. And then one of my favorites is Nick's Deli in Marshall. If anybody has ever been to Marshall, Virginia, go to Nick's Deli. It's an institution, been around forever, tiny little place. They were the only place at one point that had toilet paper, because the owner was driving to Baltimore every day to his supplier to bring back toilet paper. I mean, genius, right? So he's the go-to resource. Just makes me so happy. And then finally, near and dear to my heart, another example from a riding instructor. So a lot of these barns were closed down for the pandemic, which meant that some of the riding instructors couldn't make money because people couldn't, their clients couldn't come to the barn. They couldn't go anywhere. And so some of them were a little stuck. Some of them are global clinicians. And one of them is my friend Wendy Murdoch. She's incredible. She travels all over the globe doing amazing work with rider biomechanics and her innovative technologies. So what she did was she's grounded. You can't do anything, can't go anywhere. All those things are canceled. So she decided to set up a series of interviews with global experts in the horse industry from all different areas, from horseshoeing to healthcare to riding to massage and body work to animal communication, all kinds of things. Interviewed them in depth. And they all use parts of her products too, most of them. So she was able to see how they're using the product, get a live testimonial because her stuff's great, and give her client base, all of us who are in her space, great educational content, all for free for a few months now. So these are just some ways, that was a collaboration of hers. These are just some ways folks have been innovating and pivoting and really reinventing it strongly to come out very, very, very well from this pandemic. So my questions to you guys are thinking about, how do you best serve? How do you best serve? So looking back over your strengths, looking back over who could you partner with, who's also in alignment with your core values, your strengths, your talents, and then what step could you take yourself to advance your own goals for the future? This is my my horse, my ex-race horse, Lemon Squeezy, who's been in my life now for a couple of years. He's kind of famous because he's in the book Reinventing Greatness and has a few videos out there on YouTube. But he's been reinventing, he's been inspiring folks. So at any point you can reinvent. It does take, there is a process and it does take specific action and you have to get after it. And like anything else, be consistent to be able to live by your own design. So that's what I've got to share with you today, and I'll open the line in a second. So thank you guys so much for listening to this today, and I'll open the line in a moment. For anybody who is looking for more support in a reinvention or to jumpstart your reinvention, please give me a call. I've got a lot of different options, from private coaching to a brand new group coaching program we're starting on August 5th. And I will be sending around some details in the thank you email. So if you're interested in that, I'd like to talk about that, give me a call, and I'd love to talk with you.